Hey guys, how's it going? Stoutman coming back at you once again. And today I'm going to be doing a little horror tag thing. So Brandon last week, a week or two ago, tagged me in this horror game. I already did a horror tag thing, but this is a different horror tag. The idea behind this horror tag game is to pick 15 movies that you have on Blu-ray from the last 15 years. So they have to be movies, horror movies, made in the last 15 years that you have on Blu-ray. And to tell people why you feel like they should get these Blu-rays, like why they're worth picking up. So I have to admit that I had a lot of trouble actually finding these in my collection because honestly, I like the older stuff better. I mean, I don't think I'm alone. If you like horror movies, chances are that you are more into the older stuff, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, and older, but the newer stuff, a lot of the newer stuff is kind of crappy, so it's kind of hard to find those in your collection. First of all, it's kind of hard to warrant buying those because most of them aren't very good. Second of all, it's kind of hard to find them in your actual collection. So, yeah. I had a little trouble with this one, and it really pissed me off because originally I thought that the idea was just to pick 15 horror movies from your collection and talk about them. But nope, they have to be 15 horror movies from the last 15 years. I guess it kind of makes sense, because everybody, like I said, everybody likes the original older horror movies, right? So why should you get the newer ones? Well, why don't you make a video talking about 15 Blu-rays in your collection that you feel like people should pick up? So, yeah, I'm just going to start this off with one that you guys already know I have, The Babadook. And you should pick this up because it's one of the best horror movies that I've seen in a long time. And it comes with this nifty slipcover. I like psychological horror. I think I mentioned that in my last horror tag video. I like psychological horror a lot more than other horror concepts. And there are a lot of parallels to be made between this and The Shining, which is another one of my favorite horror movies. In fact, before I knew that I had to pick out 15 movies from the last 15 years, I had The Shining on Blu-ray ready to talk about. But yeah, if I can't pick The Shining, I guess I'll pick The Babadook because it's very different, but there are also a lot of, similarities. And it's a really, really good movie. It's creepy. It's atmospherically creepy. And a lot of people don't really get that. A lot of people don't really like that kind of horror. And I don't know what to sell you. I don't know what to tell you to sell you. It's a really good horror movie. I don't know why people don't like it or don't get it. But yeah, it's creepy. It's good. It's excellent. Next up we have Halloween 2. This is the remake by Rob Zombie. I don't have the original remake by Rob Zombie, but I do intend to get it, and I also think that's one that you should pick up. But I picked this one up because I saw Rob Zombie's Halloween, the original remake, on Amazon Prime, I believe, because I have Amazon Prime. And I really liked it, I really dug it, and I wanted to check out the second one. The second one was not available for streaming anywhere at the time, but the Blu-ray was on sale for like $5 or $6, so I just said, screw it, I'm buying this so I can watch it now. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was not let down. This is actually a really good movie. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I really dug it, and I particularly loved Brad Dourif's performance. It was just absolutely mind-blowingly phenomenal. I mean, I recently also watched Deadwood, and Brad Dourif was amazing in Deadwood as well. But I mean, I honestly couldn't decide whether that performance topped everything else he did or whether this performance topped it, because his performance in this is just fucking phenomenal. Like, I can't even begin to describe it. All I can say is you have to check it out. And again, there's more of a psychological horror going on here, so I really dug that. As you might have noticed, Final Destination. And some of you are saying, but wait, didn't that come out in the 90s? I thought so too. But apparently, according to this box, it came out in the year 2000, so I'm going to pick it. Because screw you. It's 2015, 15 years ago, Final Destination. Bam. I did not like the other Final Destination movies, just to be clear. Final Destination 2 just kind of went with the gore aspect and didn't go with the story as much. The story was there, it just was not as good or as, creepy and atmospheric and psychological as it was in this. I mean, I think it said everything to me at the end of Final Destination 2 when they had a violent death followed by rock music. Like, not even good rock music, but like new metal crap, bull crap rock music from the era. And it's like, yep, that's what we're going for. We're trying to be edgy. That was not what the original Final Destination was about. That's not what the original Final Destination was. And the reason that I liked it so much was because it was more creepy and atmospheric, because it had that John Denver died in a plane crash thing, where it had this thread throughout of the whole John Denver thing. And, there were always these little signs that there was something that was going to happen. The signs became more overt in the sequels, and there was nothing about the signs that made them interesting or unique. But in the first movie, I felt like they were pretty interesting and unique, despite the fact that it's essentially, following the same basic concept of every other teen horror movie that came out at the time, and as some people would say, ruined horror at the time. I mean, that's true, but I feel like out of those, this one is probably one of the better ones. I love that Roger Ebert says, smarter and more original than most dead teenager movies. That needs to be what these are called, dead teenager movies. But yeah, I agree with that. It's smarter and more original than most of them, and it's really freaking good. And for a while there, I was kind of like hot on Devon Sawa. Like, I didn't have the hots for him, but I really liked all the stuff that he was doing. I liked Idle Hands, which was a movie that referenced Evil Dead 2 and a lot of other horror movies and stuff like that. I mean, it was really funny. I would have talked about Idle Hands as well, but that one came out in 1999, I think. So, yeah. Final Destination it is. Next up, we have The Descent, which is probably, like, at the time that this came out, was one of the most original horror movies I had seen in years. So, like, it had been a few years since I'd seen anything really good, and along came this movie, and I was just really happy to see it, because the idea that there are these people, or these things, these mole people, or whatever they are, that are down in the depths of the earth, and there are these women who go, what do they call it? When they're going into a cave, exploring a cave. I can't remember what they call it. I seem to remember a looping or something. Ooping. I don't remember what they call it. But yes, they're checking out the caves, having fun for the day. It's like a vacation kind of thing for them. And then, of course, as they're just trying to have some fun and enjoy themselves and take their minds off the stresses of everyday life, they discover that not as all as it seems in the caves that they are in. And yeah, it's a really great movie, and it looks pretty good on Blu-ray. I wouldn't say it's like the best Blu-ray ever, but it's alright. Next up, we have 1408. I really like it because I'm a writer, and the main character, played by John Cusack, is also a writer, and I really like just how it's a psychological horror. He's going through all this stuff in this hotel room. It's lightly based on a short story by Stephen King, and I'm pretty sure it also has elements of a Twilight Zone episode in it as well. I really dig that kind of stuff, so I really liked this movie. I would say that the theatrical cut is actually better than the director's cut in this case, because Um, the director's cut, just the way it ends is just not as good to me as the way that the theatrical cut ends. But yeah, I really like this movie, and I'm glad that I finally picked it up last year. So yeah, in my collection, and it should be in yours too. Next up, we have something that's kind of a horror movie, but it's more of a, horror comedy. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. This is just ridiculous fun. I don't know what else to say about it. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's fun to watch. I mean, there's a scene where they're basically chasing after vampires while running across the backs of horses that are stampeding, and oh my god, it's so ridiculous that I couldn't help but laugh my ass off when I saw it the first time. So of course, had to get the Blu-ray. Next up, we have Cabin in the Woods. Of course, I just recently picked this up, and thank God, because otherwise I would have had to find a different movie from the past 15 years, a different horror movie from the past 15 years to talk about in my collection somewhere, magically. So yeah, Cabin in the Woods, really good horror movie, pays homage to a lot of horror movies from the past, which is one of the reasons I really like it. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on Cabin in the Woods, I just recently did a video about that, and you can find that on my channel. Next up, we have Shaun of the Dead. I'm pretty sure this came out in the last 15 years. I don't exactly remember, and the back of the box does not exactly tell me. So, 2004. Okay, good. 2004. All I know is, again, this is a horror comedy, and it's absolutely hilarious. This definitely needs to be in everybody's collection. If you do not have this in your collection, what the hell is wrong with you? It's Shaun of the Dead. It's fucking hilarious. It's brilliant. And it looks good on Blu-ray too. As mentioned in Skinslip's video, Trick or Treat, you need to have it in your collection. If you do not, why do you not have it in your collection? I'm sorry I'm looking away from the camera, but my DVDs and Blu-rays are falling off of my bed. Yeah, this is a really cool, anthology horror, which is cool because they have not done a lot of anthology horrors, at least not until recently. This kind of, I feel like, sparked or was part of a spark of anthology horror movies in the past few years, and it was really well done, really good, and it feels like everybody's trying to copy the success of Trick or Treat now, and it's like, you're doing okay, I guess, but in other aspects you're really screwing it up, and yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I really like Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is a really cool movie. I watch it every Halloween. Great anthology horror. True to the anthology horrors of the 80s and whatnot. Just brilliant. Speaking of anthology horror, VHS. A lot of people do not like this, and I love it. I think it's pretty damn awesome. I don't think all of the little tidbits, little sequences in the movie are great, but a lot of them are really cool, and I really like that about this one. One I definitely need to get in my collection soon is VHS 2, because honestly I like it better than VHS. VHS 2 is the best in the series so far. If I had to rank it, I would say it's VHS 2, VHS, and then VHS Viral, which, although it was not nearly as good as its as its predecessors, there were a few sequences in VHS Viral that were okay, and of the ones that weren't okay, there were a few scenes in them that were kind of cool, that the special effects were really well done, kind of thing. So, I mean, in terms of the entire series as it has gone so far, I would say that the last one definitely took the furthest turn away from what it was originally intended to be, but it still was pretty interesting and pretty fun. And this movie started it all, and it was really good. And I like a lot of these segments out of this movie. Honestly, I would say I like them all. It's just that some are scarier than others. So, yeah. Next up, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2003 reboot done by Marcus Nispel, but produced by Michael Bay, right? I think that's... Everybody remembers this as the Michael Bay one. But, Michael Bay didn't direct it, and it really doesn't have the feel of a Michael Bay film. And in fact, the reason that I like this one so much is because it is so effective at, like, being horrific and being scary and, creepy. And I would say that the gore in this movie is done so well that it's just, like, and not only the gore, but, like, the psychological horror of what the hell is wrong with these people and all that stuff. But there's this scene where I don't want to give too much away, but somebody gets their brains blown out, and you can see little bits of the brains on the seat, and it's like, ugh, ugh. It's really creepy, and that scene alone kind of just gave me the heebie-jeebies when I saw it. So yeah, this is one that even though a lot of people probably don't like it, I still recommend it. I still think that it needs to be in your collection if you're a horror fan. Next up, we have a double pack. So this will be the next two. We've got The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses, or in order of when they came out, House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. These were like the first movies that Rob Zombie did that, started his filmmaking career to a certain degree. And he proved that he can do a pretty damn good job of making some damn good movies, especially with Devil's Rejects, which was fucking phenomenal. So, yeah, gotta love it. I got the double pack because I was cheap and I didn't want to pay for each one individually, but now I kind of wish I did because I'm going to a horror convention this weekend, and there are going to be some people from the movie from Devil's Rejects, and I don't want to get this one autographed because it's not even, it doesn't even look good. Horror 2-pack, yeah, sign my horror 2-pack, please. Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. I guess I could maybe get the discs themselves autographed, because if you see, the discs are like the original discs from the original releases. But yeah, anyways, I think that you need to own both of these, even though a lot of people don't like House of a Thousand Corpses as much as The Devil's Rejects. I still think it's worth owning both of them. And then the next two are part of a series. We've got, well, these are the last two, mind you, too. We've got Insidious and Insidious 2. And Insidious 3 is either coming out soon or came out recently, and yeah, anyways. I really like this series. I mean, there are a lot of references to older horror movies like The Shining, but I really like it in terms of it being like a creepy ghost story movie, and also like a creepy, maybe a little bit of demon-y thing going on there, and they combine the best elements of a variety of different horror movies, like ghost movies and demonic possession movies and all that stuff, and made a story that is just really cool. I mean, at first, when I first saw Insidious the first time, I thought, well, it's okay, but it's not that great. The second time I watched it, I realized, actually, this is pretty damn good. And then I watched Insidious 2, and I'm like, these are really good. So I had to pick them up. I had to get them in my collection. Unfortunately, I didn't get this one with the slipcover, if it ever did have one. But I did get Insidious 2 with the slipcover, so that's nice. Anyways, yeah, I think you should own both of these on Blu-ray. And, yeah, that will do it. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.